loops. In loops concept, we have two more concepts: break and continue. Let me clear this output. Whenever we started Jupyter Notebook, else like old Jupyter Notebook, we have to restart the kernel. Otherwise, it won't work properly. Today we are going to discuss about break and continue. These two features we will use inside loops. Each feature have a different like a different perspective while running a loop. For suppose I'm printing a numbers from 1 to 10 for I in range of 10. I'm printing number just 0 to 9. For suppose I want to terminate loop after 5. For suppose I'm iterating this loop 10 times. I want to terminate this loop at loop of 5 at I equal to 5. For that situation, I will give I equal to 5. When I equal to 5, I will give break here. Then this break will terminate the loop. While developing a project, you will get across different situations. In doing a for loop, you will get one value. You want to break that loop at that scenario. For suppose you have a big list here. For suppose, let me execute this. You will get to know what happening here. Before break, it was printing 0 to 9. When I given I equal to 5, first time I will be 0. That will be false. It won't execute break statement. The next time I will be 1. It will be false. So it won't execute break. After 5 iterations, I became 5. 5 equal to 5 true. Then it came to this statement break. So its break loop is terminated. We no more continue this loop. Break means just we are terminating that loop. In that situation, we will use break. I will take one example. I'm taking one list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inside list, I am looking for a number 3. Whenever I got number 3, I want to break that loop. For that, I'll write for loop for this list. For I in L, if I equal to 3, inside I, first time I will get 1. After that, I will get 2. First, I will print I here. Print I. If I equal to 3, then we will terminate this loop. That is our use case. So it's still printing 1, 2, 3. Why? Because when I is 3, it's terminated. Now we will go for continue. Continue, simply skip one iteration. For suppose I'll tell example in Paint. We are running a loop for 5 iterations. This is 1 iteration, 2 iteration, third, fourth, and fifth. For suppose when I equal to 3, is I given 3. When I equal to 3, I given break statement there. Then it won't execute this 4 and 5. For suppose this is 4 and this is 5. When I executed a break statement at 3, it won't execute 4 and 5. For suppose instead of break, I given continue, that will skip this 3 and it will execute 4 and 5. If I given continue when I equal to 3, it will execute 4 and 5. But when I given break, it won't execute 4 and 5. That will terminate the loop. Let me try with one example. Same above example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For I in L, print I. If I equal to 3, now I'm giving here continue. I want to print I here. Simply, it will continue the loop like, let me print here. Instead of this, just I will change my condition here. I want to print I here. It won't print, why? Because it will skip third loop. It will print 1, 2. After that, it will skip third one. It will go for 4, 5, 6. In that way, it will continue will work. We will do with some examples. With for loops, we have these two concepts we can use inside for loop, like break and continue. Whenever you want to break that loop, you will use break. If you want to skip one iteration, you will use continue there. We done with these loops here. All concepts are clear. I think yesterday I given one task. Anyone tried that? Suresh or Nani, if you tried that task, or just I want to know the status of that task, like detention calculator. Nani said tomorrow you will submit. Suresh, can you tell your status? Whatever, have you tried, or you stuck somewhere, or if you didn't get time? Okay, that's okay. You can submit tomorrow as well. But just I want to know status of the task. Like, have you tried or not yet started? Anything is okay. We won't force you to submit today only. Okay, Suresh. We will. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine. Fine. If you didn't get time, okay. No issues. Just I want to know what is your status, like, have you tried, or you stuck with somewhere error, or you're not able to do that. Otherwise, then I will explain one more time how to do that. For that reason only I asked. We're done with break and continue. Then next topic is functions. I will create a new notebook. Just I will write the definition of function here. Functions are used to code reusage. Functions are used to use code reusage. For example, you will develop, you will write code once. You want to execute that code multiple times. For suppose today you solved one problem. Let us assume you developed a function for addition of two numbers. You worked on a task addition of two numbers. Again tomorrow you don't want to work on this addition of two numbers. You will keep that program or that maybe statements inside a function. You will use that function number of many times. You can use many number of times. While using, you will get to know more about functions. Now I will show declaration of function. Here we have 3 steps. One is declaring the function. Returning the output from function. Calling the function. These are the 3 main steps involved in a function. First, we will declare a function. After that, we will return output from the function. Then we have to call that function. Now we will go with the number 1, declaring the function. Def is a keyword to declare the function. For suppose I want to add 2 numbers, I will use sum as my function name. After that, bracket like not square brackets, curly brackets, or a round brackets you can say. Sum, you have to say give brackets. After that, colon, new line. Automatically your code editor will give 4 spaces here. No need to use spaces. If you are practicing in Notepad, you have to give 4 spaces or 1 tab here. That is Python indentation. Inside I will take 2 variables, a equal to 2, b equal to 3. I want to sum this a, b. Yeah, indentation that. We have to give 4 spaces or 1 tab. For same for if else conditions, how we did, we have to give. If you are using any IDE, automatically IDE will take care about that. No need to worry about that. After that, declaration part is completed. Now we have to result the output from the function. Return C. This is the declaration code for function. You won't get any output now after executing this block or executing this cell. We have to particularly call that function with the name. Here, this is the name, some STM. You can take any name. You may take any like adding 2 numbers. You can give like this also. Function name. There is no limitation with function names. Just we will take a small function name that will be easy to call functions also. Yeah, sum is a function name. Here a name is very important. We will call this function with name only. Now I will call this function sum, open bracket and close bracket. That's it. We'll call this function. We got 5 as a output. Inside function I declared a variable a, I declared a variable b. After that I'm doing some addition here, c equal to a plus b. I'm returning c. This is a simple declaration of function. I hope you got some idea about this, how to define function and how to return result from the function and how to call the function. Here I will write declaration as well, description or declaring the function, returning the output and calling the function. And we will discuss about keywords or keyword arguments in this session. In this session only, I will explain that. If we want to execute this code block, function code block, definitely we have to call this function with its name. If you won't call, it won't execute. For suppose this is the block. When I executed this block, just I defined a function with the name of sum, and I'm returning C. That's it. I'm not calling anything here. When I call like this with the function name, then only this code will be executed. If you didn't call, that code never executed. For function, we have to calling is necessary to execute that function code. In functions, we have 4 types of functions. Like each function is allocated some special task. Let me note down here. Arguments. Keyword arguments. Default arguments. Variable length arguments. If you observe here in this function, I define variables inside the function, but in generally we don't do like this. We will call this function with the variable value. For suppose I want to addition on numbers, but here I given a and b values are constant. Whenever you execute this code, you will get 5 only. But I want output as a dynamic. I will take input from the user. I want to call some function, then I have to show the result to the user. Let's build that one. First, I'm taking input. I think you're already aware of this, how to take input and how to convert this into integer. Enter any two numbers. I'm hoping this part everyone is clear. Yeah, before this, I will define a function. 1 minute. Now, I'm defining one more function. Sum2, name it as a sum2. Here, I will take two values. This is called arguments, argument function. Inside, while defining a function, we will define two variables, a comma b. I will print a here, and I will print b. C equal to a plus b. Return c. Now here, I define a function name with sum2. Why? Because I already defined a sum function. So I given sum2. This function will take two arguments. If you want to call this function, then you have to specify two values inside that function. I will add one more. Okay. From here, I will call this function sum2. Inside sum2, I can give any two numbers. Initially, we given this a and b values are constant. Whenever you execute this function, you will get 5 as a output constant. But now I want to make this function as a dynamic function. I will give 10 comma 20. These 10 20 are the a and b values. I will comment out this. If you make any changes in this cell, you have to execute that cell. Now I am getting 30. Now I will give 100 here. Now I will execute. I got 120. Now my function is dynamic. I can pass any values here. I can pass 2000 also, 2000, 20,000, anything. I'm giving 100 here and one more number. Let's make it a 200. This 100 is assigned to A. This 200 is assigned to B. Like these called arguments. Whenever the variables you are passing to the function, we'll call it as a arguments. For suppose in some situations, we will define a equal to 100, b equal to 200. Inside sum, I will give a comma b. You can pass directly 100 to 100, or you can pass directly variable. I want to execute this cell, then only a and b will come into exist. Like I got 300. Like this, you can pass any variable inside this function, or you can pass directly a value 100 comma 200. This is called arguments. These arguments directly will assign to, for suppose we will give here x. You may confuse, I given a, b there. I don't want to confuse you, x comma y. Now here I will give x. comma y. X and y are the different variables. These x and y are not related to my function. They're at any cost, they are not related to the sum2 function. Just I am calling the sum2 function with giving x comma y in a as a arguments. Then x will be assigned to a, y will be assigned to b. Like these called positional arguments. For suppose I given two variables here, a comma b. Right? I don't pass y. This I will pass only single number. Actually, I need two numbers to execute to perform this task a comma b. But what I am giving, I am sending only one number. In this case, we will get error. Like if you observe sum2 missing one required positional argument b. These arguments are called positional arguments. Here we defined arguments a comma b. If you want to execute this code, definitely you have to pass a comma b. If you are not passing, definitely you will gonna get errors there. Definitely you have to pass two arguments. For suppose instead of printing this replay, just I will show how a is assigned, this x value is assigned to a and the y value assigned to b. Just I will print this is a or this is x. I'll print. Inside x we have a 100. This is x value inside a, like x value is assigned to a, y value assigned to b, which is based on positional. It will, this value will be take on position. For suppose I'm sending in place of x, I'm sending y. In place of x, I'm sending y. Still we will get output. But if you observe, this is x equal to 200, y equal to 100. Like just we swapped position, then variable value also changes. If you have sensitive code, you're not supposed to change those positional arguments. Just you have to send in same sequence. First b, or after that, first a, after that b. These are the positional arguments. Next we have keyword arguments. Here x value is 100, y value is 200. But when we pass this, x value is assigned to b and y value is assigned to a. Instead of that, we will send like this: y value is 200, x value is 100. One minute, let me execute this. Here keyword argument functions initialization will be slightly different. Before discussing keyword arguments, I will go with default argument. I will explain this keyword argument in this session only. Last I will explain. For suppose a value I am sending, we will make it as x equal to 100, y equal to 200 only. X comma y. X equal to 100, y equal to 200. But instead, if I send y, but I want to take y value as a default. something 100. If you are sending 200, it's okay. If you don't have y value, we will take y value as a default 100. This called default arguments. Let me execute this. If you observe in X, we are sending 100, this 100. Let us assume we don't have y value. Let it be y value default. If you are giving something, okay, that will execute that value. If you are not giving anything inside y, that will execute default value. While defining function only, we will keep some default values here. For suppose b equal to 100, I defined. If I give b, that will take b value here. If I didn't give b or y, it will take default value. For suppose I will give 200 here, x comma y. Now I got inside y 200. Why? Because now I am passing y equal to 200. But if I didn't pass, y value will be default 100. Like this is optional. If you have y value, you can send. If you don't have y value, just keep that default value will take care by function. But this also you have to define while declaring the function. This is the default argument. Like one value you can keep default. Like for suppose for a also we can keep default value. For suppose 10 I will keep default. Now I won't send anything here. We want to execute this code. Inside x 10, inside y 100. Like functions, we will use functions for dynamic execution. In normal situations, we don't give values like this. Maybe one or two values will be default values. Remaining all values we have to pass while calling the function. We have to pass x here. Inside x we are passing 100. Inside y we have 100. So we got this. Instead of x comma y, in some situations we have to pass list or more than number. For suppose we want to add 3 or 4 numbers, y equal to 10, z equal to 12, w equal to 20. Just let assume how many numbers we have, we don't know. Like we defined function for 2 values only. But in some situations we have to pass multiple values. How many numbers you will get, you don't know. For suppose if you take calculator, if I give 1 plus 2, you are passing 1 plus 2 for addition function. We got 3 as a output, but there is no guarantee I will pass only 2 numbers. I can pass 1 plus 2, 3, 6. I can pass any numbers right here. In that situation, I want my addition function to be dynamic. If I got 100 numbers, I want to perform addition on that 100 numbers. I want to give output as a 100 number, sum of those 100 numbers. So for that reason, we will take multiple numbers as a argument. For that, we will give star here. Let me execute this. This code won't work here. Okay, C plus B, remove this C plus B. Just don't return anything here. First, we will focus on how we are passing numbers inside this B, like how we are passing multiple numbers inside B variable. Just assume we define x, y, z, w. I defined a x. After that, I am giving comma, y, z, w I given. If you observe, I am calling my function with 4 values, but I defined my function with 2 variables. One is a and one is star b. Star b is known as a variable length argument. Just let me execute this all cells. If you observe inside x, we got 100. Why? Because a equal to x as per our previous explanation or declaration. Later, whatever the numbers I passed, y, z, w, like 10, 12, 20, these went into y, but it went as a tuple. Why? Because we don't know how many numbers we want to add it. We have to some we have to addition or we have to sum. In that situation, we will take this variable length. Now here, if you want to add this, we will what we will do, we will run a loop to get items from this B. Inside B, we have these three numbers 10, 12, 20. Now what I will do, I will remove 10 from this tuple and I will add this 10 to x, and then I will add 12 to x, and I will add 20 to x. Then I will get my complete output there. Now I am giving result here. Result is give A. Why? Because inside A we have 100. Now I will loop over through B for I in B. Noise is coming. Yeah, now I'm keeping loop for this tuple. Yeah, just understand inside B we have these values 10, 12, 20. Now I want to take each value at a time. First I will take 10 and I will assign this 10 to, I will add this 10 to 100. After that I will take 12, I will add this 12 to 100, and then I will take 20, I will add to 20 to 100. Then we will get complete answer there. Result plus equal to I. Return result. That's it. We got 142 as an answer. If you observe 130, 142. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, I will explain one more time here. In some situations, we don't know how many variables we have to take inside the function. It may be 10, it may be 100, it may be 1000. That is not defined as per your requirements. If we got 100 inputs, we have to process those 100 inputs as per our requirement. So in that situations, I define two variables. One is normal argument, it's a positional argument, and one more is variable length argument. Like a name itself, it's indicating variable length. We cannot define this length. How many numbers will get here? We don't know. For that purpose, we will use star here. If you are giving a star means it's a variable length argument. Inside this B, we will get result as a tuple. That is confirmed. Inside B, we will get tuple, the number of arguments we will get as a tuple. Now we have to loop we will loop that tuple and we will extract each item and we will assign that to the result. Then we got this result. These are the things. Yeah, we started this taking input and giving addition, right? We will finish this. Inside n we have numbers there, like 1 comma 2, 2 comma 3. We have a numbers there. I will call some function from here. Otherwise, we will keep this as a 2 n1 and n2. Inside n1, user will enter some number. Inside n2, user will enter some number. Now I will pass this to the sum function. I want to store this result inside result. After that, I have to print this result. Then only user will know what is the output of those numbers. 12 and 13 I'm giving. This function name is sum2. We have to pass here sum2. I'm giving 12 and 12. We got 24. Just I will remove these print statements. We got 24. I'll try one more time. 100, 200. We got 300. Yeah. In this way, we will call function. Function will return an output. We will store that value inside a variable. Definitely, you have to assign this result to the in some variable. Then only you can use this variable. After, like, you can show output to the user, or you can print. You can perform any operations on this. If this is a returnable function, then definitely we have to assign to the variable. In some situations, we don't have no need to specify return here. For suppose you want to send an email to the user, just you will call this function. You're not knowing that email is sent or not. We don't expect for a return. In that situation, we no need to no need to mention this return here. Just you will define a function, you will call that function, but you don't know what happened inside that function. Maybe it's failed, or maybe it's executed successfully. You don't know. This is called non-returnable functions. Like in most situations, definitely we have to return. In some situations, like rare situations, we no need to think about what happened inside that task. Just we want to call that function, that's it. In that situations, no need to mention return. Just you will call that function and you will leave it. Keyword arguments will give 2 star here. Leave this function. We will define a new function here. For suppose def person, just give name here. After that, user information, or suppose just give info. Just give 2 stars. That means we are passing key value pairs. I said keyword arguments, right? We will discuss this in last. I said why we are doing this. We will get to know after finishing this execution. Print name, print info. Don't return anything. Just print is enough for me. Now I'm calling this person function. This I'm passing my mobile number. I'm passing my address. This three is enough. Here in above situation, we passed directly variables, but in some situation we will be having key value pairs like dictionary. In that situation, we will use keyword argument. Like I mentioned this keyword arguments, right? You have a key and value. You have a key and value. In that situation, you want to take information as a key value pairs. For suppose you are storing user information in database, definitely you will store, like, you will be having name column, mobile column, after that address column. You have to store your name inside name column. You have to store your mobile number inside mobile number column, address in address column. In that situation, we will identify which is name. You got info, but inside info we have mobile number and address. We have keyword in name. You are getting name. It's okay. Directly you will get to know by this name. But in this keyword arguments, we will get all information at once. Like in JSON, if you observe this data type, this is a JSON or dictionary. Yeah, dictionary. Like in general term, we will call it as a JSON. But when you are dealing with Python, for suppose you know multiple languages like Java, JavaScript, definitely mostly you will call it as a JSON. Like in my scenario, like I will write a REST API most of the time. We'll call it as a JSON. But when we are dealing with Python, we have to call it as a dictionary. That's absolutely right. No doubt with that. We'll call it as a dictionary. We'll get all information inside this. For suppose I want to pass two more keyword arguments here. Those are plan. For suppose you are selling plans or subscription like Amazon or Netflix. You want to store user plan information, premium. You want to take last login also. We will take just now. Inside this info, you will get all keyword arguments. But inside name, we are passing Sai, that is default, like Sai is assigned to this name, but remaining all keyword arguments is assigned to info. Directly that will go under info. You can pass any number of variables, any number of keyword arguments, no issues. Our function is able to handle that information. Now we will operate this, like we will extract each item at a time inside our function. Here we'll call this mobile as a key. The mobile number which is output of this mobile, we'll call it as a value. I think when we started loops, I didn't teach this JSON dictionary loops. Now I will teach here how to loop out through JSON or this dictionary. Sorry, I'm calling this JSON. Now I will teach how to pull each item from this dictionary and how to print. For suppose it is a list, we will give directly for I in info. But this is not a list. We have a key value pairs. So we have to pass two variables here, I comma j. I'll pass two variables, I comma j in info, print I comma j. Now first attempt, it will print mobile and mobile number. In second iteration, it will print address HYD, like that it will print. Now I will remove this. I will keep name and I will remove this info. When you execute this block, you don't get any output. Why? Because you are defining your function. When you are executing this block, like person, you are calling that function. Oh, too many values to unpack. Okay, this is the common error. Okay, problem with here, we have to call items function here. That is default for dictionaries. For list, directly you will give a list name here, but dictionary you have to call these items. That is the thing here. I will print I comma j back to back. Yeah, we are getting key value in same line. Mobile number, address HYD, plan premium, last login just now. Like in this way, we will accept like a dictionary as a input, like dictionary as a argument to the function. In this way, we will accept multiple arguments in function. Some default arguments will be there. Like as I told, if you pass that argument, fine. If you didn't pass, the default value will be taken care. No need to think about that value. Like these are the functions. Like that's all about functions. Oh, time now. Okay. Now we will work on a date time module today. Why? Because we're done with function. If you submit this task tomorrow, I will give you one more task. If you practice on more tasks, you will get familiar with all these fundamentals. Then we can go for advanced topics like OOPS, or we will finish some basic projects. After that, we will go for OOPS concept. I think you're clear with functions now, like declaring functions, returning functions. Even though we will do some assignments tomorrow on functions, but now I will explain about a date time model in Python. For suppose I want to deal with date time, what is the current date now? I want to fetch what is the current date. For that, we have to import. First, let me tell about importing. Importing modules or functions in Python. For suppose let me show you something here. Yeah, these are the modules inside Python. Like if you want to deal with the date and times, we have a module for that, date time. This is the Python code, completely Python code, what they've written in C language. This is the C Python code. Inside this, we will be having date time modules, or for every task we have a modules. For suppose you want to deal with some mathematical part, we have a math module. If you want to deal with scientific calculation, we have NumPy. If you want to deal with data, we have pandas. Like that, we have date module function here. Now, how to import this module in our Python Jupyter notebook and how to perform operations on that, I will teach now. If you want to import anything, just like this, from date time. If you want, before that, I will show you importing, like import date time. This means this I imported date time module to my code, like to Jupyter, my Jupyter notebook. For suppose inside this date time, this is the module. Inside this module, we will be having functions. For suppose from date time, import date time. We can import like this as well. Like inside this date time, we have one more date time. For that, I call this date time. This you will get clarity what I'm doing. Date time dot now. I'll get current date and time. If I call date time dot now, I'll get current date time 2020. It's a month, date, and 20 means 8 minutes, 8 hour, 8 o'clock, 6 minutes is the seconds and milliseconds. Based on this, we will use this date time module everywhere in while developing a project. For suppose you want to create a when user last login, you want to track user login information. When was his last login? For suppose user just logged in, you will create one datetime object. You will store that object in database to the this last login in field. For suppose in some situations, if you observe, if you went to Amazon, if you click on your orders, you will get the order date and time when you order that particular item, on which date you ordered. Means when you're ordering that item, that will take current date time and that will store in a database. For that situation, we will use this function datetime.now. This is inbuilt function, no need to do anything. Just from datetime import datetime, just datetime.now. You will get current time. Tomorrow we will build some small projects, like if this date time is morning, for suppose time is morning session, we will greet user as a good morning. If time is afternoon, we will greet user as a afternoon. Like we will build one small like user interaction application with this date time module. We have a lot of modules. For suppose import math, to import math module, just you will import math. If you want to know about this math module, what are the methods inside that math module, I think you can do like you will get all methods or functions inside this math. For suppose math, inside math we have floor method, we have a log2 method, radians. Let me do this for date time also. What we have inside date time we will get to know. Yeah, we have date, we have day. For suppose instead of date time dot now, I will give day. It will happen. Object is not callable. 1 minute. Let me check this. If you didn't understand here, just type here how to fetch date from a date time object. If you click here, you will get some answers. Stack Overflow is best one. You can prefer this. Now dot date. Okay. Just give here. Given now means I got some current date here. From that, I'm taking only date. After that, whatever the methods we have, we will try this minute, month. We'll try this as well. Any other? If you want to perform operations on this, you can prefer Google or Stack Overflow, anything. This now we will end with here date. We got date here, but every developer who is working in industry, they don't remember these all methods and functions. Just if they got a requirement need to deal with dates, just they will search in Google. They will get like tons of results here. They'll read there and they will take best code from the Stack Overflow, like reference. They don't. You may call it as a copy paste. I don't care. But for my in my perspective, I want to finish the task. How I am doing, like from where code I'm taking. That's all or not considerable. If you are able to do that task or not. For suppose today when I was scrolling in LinkedIn, one person from Microsoft, he is asking he is asking to the community. He is working on Python 2 years from 2 years, but he didn't remember basic functions like inbuilt modules, whether it is correct or not. He's asking, like he's working in Python from 2 years, but he didn't remember basic modules or basic this like date time operations or some other functionalities. Like you want to know everyone that is same for everyone or problem with him, you want to know that. Then he posted a simple post in LinkedIn. Everyone is replying there, me too, me too, me too. We don't remember the code. Just remember the concept. You know how to do with this date time. We have a date time module for dealing with date time tasks. So just go refer that document, refer Stack Overflow, and do your task and done with that task. Every developer will do that. Like no one will by heart or mug up this code. If you have a Google, you can search it. That's I want to tell you. Yeah, we are done with today's sessions. Today we covered all related, like in for loops we covered the break and continue. After that we came for functions. inside functions, arguments, keyword arguments, default arguments, and variable length arguments. Tomorrow we will do some small projects on these functions. What are the projects I mentioned in first session? We'll do that projects. We'll play with some inbuilt functions and inbuilt modules. Maybe day after tomorrow we'll start with OOPS concept. Before starting OOPS concept, I want to finish this some projects with these functions and all other concepts which we learned till now. That's it for today. We will meet tomorrow. Just try to finish the task. Just give at least 30 minutes for the task. Then I'm hoping you will submit the task tomorrow.
Okay, bro. Sure.
Yep.
Suresh, you need to complete your tasks.
Why? Because if you're working on the task, then I will get some motivation. You will learn something new from that task. Then we can go for advanced topics like OOPS. Before starting OOPS, I want to make sure all these topics you learned and you didn't miss anything, any topic. Then only we will go for OOPS. Before that, we will implement 2 projects with these functions. After that, we will go for OOPS. Yeah, okay, no problem. Today we're done with session. I'm stopping this.